what's on my mind and what I think should be on all of our minds is to stay curious, stay open, and let curiosity sort of push aside fear. Because after all, if there's something you really want to try or something you really want to experience in your life, this one wild and precious life, you owe it to yourself to try it. And I think the more energy you get behind that helps push fear aside. And so that's what I just say, stay curious and go for the exploration and just go for it.
Welcome to the Midlife Reinvention Podcast. I'm your host, Kavita, and the founder of Power Purpose Play, a global community of women in midlife. I'm here to tell you that it's your time now to rediscover what has always been inside of you and bring that out into the world. If you're wondering what's next, but don't know quite what that is, or if you feel a twinge in your heart telling you that you have so much more to do and so much more to offer, you're in the right place. Ask yourself, if not now, when? Do you want to leave your job, start your own business, take control of your health, reignite the passion in your marriage, write that book, or at least that first chapter? Transitions like this can be daunting, but through listening to my story and interviews with incredible women every week, I hope to inspire you to take action. I rediscovered myself after the age of 50, and I know you can too. It's my time now to help you do just that. I'm so excited you're here. Let's dive in. Hi, dear friends, and welcome to another episode of the Midlife Reinvention Podcast. I hope this day is finding you well. A lot has happened in the last week as we start some new adventures with school and perhaps work or in your personal life as September is upon us, and also as you begin to contemplate what is next for you. As the world mourns the great loss of Queen Elizabeth II, I also felt both saddened and yet so inspired by her. I have been a royal watcher for decades, and I always admired her strength and elegance, even up to the age of 96. To me, that proves that age is not a barrier, and being a woman is not a barrier to doing what is in our hearts. I came across one of her quotes on being an inspiration, which I thought you might enjoy. And it goes like this. To be inspirational, you don't have to save lives or win medals. I often draw strength from meeting ordinary people and doing extraordinary things. Volunteers, carers, community organizers, and good neighbors. Unsung heroes whose quiet dedication makes them special. They are an inspiration to those who know them. And that was at the Olympic Games in Rio de Janeiro in 2016. This reminded me that we can all be an inspiration in whatever way we set our minds to. How will you inspire? How will you make a difference in your life or in the lives of others? My work now is dedicated to inspiring you as you look ahead to what is possible for you. I invite you to explore this either through my one-on-one coaching or by joining my upcoming group coaching program called It's My Time Now, beginning the week of October 17th for 6 inspirational weeks with a small group of like-minded women. Apply at the links in the show notes or email me at kavita@powerpurposeplay.ca and tell me why you think it's your time now. Is it time for you to finally take time for yourself to figure out what you really want? If you'd like to be part of a small group of women who are motivated to make a difference in their lives, reach out to me today. Enjoy this week's episode of the Midlife Reinvention Podcast as I speak with Diana Dunbar Place on the power of our third acts. You do have the power to create the next most exciting chapter of your life. Enjoy this episode, and I'll be back with the key takeaways. Welcome, everyone, to this week's episode of the Midlife Reinvention Podcast. I'm your host, Kavita Ahuja, and the founder of Power Purpose Play, which is a global community of women in midlife. I'm also a certified life transition and core energy coach, And my bold mission is to empower 1 million women in midlife worldwide to find their inner power and purpose and to say with confidence, it's my time now. As part of this mission, I interview incredible women for this podcast who share their stories of reinvention and will give you their advice on how to overcome the obstacles in your way to reach your vision for yourself in your next stage of life. I had the pleasure of meeting our next guest through mutual connections, and ever since we met, we instantly hit it off and realized how common our passions were, mainly to empower women to live their next chapter of life to the fullest. Diana Dunbar Place is the founder of Third Act Quest and the new 333 Collective, which are both her way of living her passion to reframe the perception and experience of aging by inspiring and connecting women as they create their life's most exciting chapter, their third act. After years of dancing on the edges of her passions through a roller coaster life and career, it was a coincidence of 3 lightning strike experiences that compelled Diana to dig deep to focus on what she truly wanted to do with her life, with her one wild and precious life. Her 35-year professional career includes a decade in Boston with a leading international ad agency, 10 years with America Online as senior vice president, and starting 3 entrepreneurial ventures. Though all these experiences were fascinating, Diana was called to follow the little breadcrumbs in her life to do what brings her joy and meaning. So I'm so excited to have you here, Diana. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Kavita. I'm honored to be here and excited to connect with you again.
Yes, I was just so fascinated, as I said, by your story. And I thought we talk similarly about life transitions and those moments that are characterized by triggers in our life, which kind of lead us one way or the other and cause us to change our course of action. And can you tell us what led to your own reinvention after 50? And I mentioned in the bio, you followed your breadcrumbs and these lightning strike moments. So maybe you can share what those were and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah. So I want to reflect a little bit about transitions because transitions come at all times in our life. But I find that at this point in our lives, when we're in our 50s, 60s and beyond, it seems as though these transitions sort of start to escalate. We're making decisions or losing opportunities in a career, let's say. We're changing that up. We're empty nesting. We're parenting our aging parents, or we're taking care of our aging parents. We're all this confluence of things is happening at the same time. But the beauty of any transition is that after you go through a few, whether they're transitions that you plan or things that get foisted upon you, there's unbelievable opportunity for growth. And so for me personally, my whole life has been, as I say, dancing in and out of things that really were my passions, but always on the edge. So it really did take these lightning strike moments that sort of coincided. In 2019, I got this crazy cancer diagnosis out of the blue. Okay. And it was, as I say, it sort of hit me right between the eyes. It was basically a tumor in my head. And at the same time, I was about to turn 60. I was about to be an empty nester, and all these things just circled around me. I am blessed by science and amazing doctors and faith in my ability to heal. And I came through things beautifully. But in the end, it was that moment. I remember exactly sitting in my room. I also had to make the decision, and it was necessitated by my illness, to shut down a business I had given my heart and soul and blood, sweat, and tears for 4 years to create. And I had to shut that down. And instead, though, of feeling the sadness and the regret of it, I felt free. I felt like for the first time in my life, I had really had the opportunity to follow my heart and not just my mind. The previous business was great, but wasn't in my heart. Yeah. So Third Act Quest was really born in a moment, sitting in that chair. I said, I'm in my third act. This is my third act. I did a quick Google search. What I know what
What is
therapy
it?
is
Yeah.
in literature and things like that. But I found this really compelling video that Jane Fonda had played. And I said, of course, this is exactly where I am. So it really was that coincidence of those events that would otherwise have appeared if you put them on paper in front of me. I would have said, no, I don't want to do that. But I look at it, look at that coincidence with deep gratitude now, because it allowed me to wake up to really, really what I want to do, be, experience, have, all of that. So thank you
Wow.
for that question.
So, no, that's wonderful. So you had the cancer diagnosis, and you had to close your business down, and then your daughter, right, was leaving
Yes.
as it. So all these things. And what's fascinating to me is Diana, is that you took those and you created an opportunity, right? Rather than a lot of people, I think many people might look at those things and almost give up or just kind of hide. Whereas this is what I think you said earlier, is that there's so much opportunity in these transitions, right? And it's just a matter of listening to what's inside of you as well as what's around you and following those breadcrumbs. So congratulations for doing that, because not many people do that, right?
Isn't it interesting? I think, I'm actually starting a book. I haven't written more than a bunch of notes, but it's basically around of what I see as the gifts of your third act, the gifts of aging. And part of that is, by the time you've been on this planet for 50 years, you have had so many experiences.
Yeah.
And unfortunately for some, it's daunting and it holds them back and they give up. But for so many, as you go through these things, I say it's like flexing your resilience muscle. Resilience is a powerful gift that we receive after any number of things. How many of us lose a job, lose a relationship, or whatever, and come out of it in a better place? So after you've done that a few times, and that's to me. So for me, it was like, time my energy soars.
Interesting.
It's almost a strange thing. My energy soars when I face a challenge, because I know I can get through it. And I have that faith. I'll go on a limb to also say that this may be a little woo-woo for some people, but my philosophy is, and I felt it when I started this next venture that I'm working with now in this life phase, is that you are on the right path. When you are exploring and thinking about and considering all sorts of changes or new things, if you can stay curious, that helps you push aside fear. But moreover, there are all these synchronicities as you follow your heart, the people, the things, the ideas, the information, it all seems to almost come served up to you on a little path. And that's what's been happening with me. And I think if we all are opening up to that possibility, it can happen to any of us. But it's really just following your heart, I guess.
Yes.
The beginning.
I think you just described the law of attraction.
Well, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. And
I fully believe in that. I mean, my coaching is around energy and the energy we all have surrounds us, and we're all and it's being open to the opportunities around you, but also listening to what's inside you. So, yeah.
And that's, again, back to the gifts of this age.
Yes.
I like to say, I'm the driver on this bus, right?
Yeah.
I get to decide what direction we go. And this is a little bit overdoing the metaphor, but after we've been here, we have a finely tuned GPS inside, but we got to listen to it. And we got to know when we're off course and get it out of the breakdown lane or whatever.
Yes.
It's interesting. Yeah,
absolutely. You mentioned something about challenges, and you said your energy soars when you face challenge. And so maybe when women are faced with change or transition, like yourself, I mean, what kind of challenges would you have faced? I'm sure you faced a lot, like trying to decide or making the decision to do something so different. But what would you advise women really who are thinking about what to do next and are held back by that fear? Which is, I mean, it's all kinds of different fears, as we know, we coach people on how to overcome fear. But what would you say, like just one couple of things that? for
Well,
women?
fear is powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And we all know that fear is an essential part of being alive. It's a survival tool, but we
Yeah.
have to know where to put fear. We have to know when to listen to it, and we have to know when it's simply just holding us back. And I think there's the way I like to think of it. I invite it to the table when it pops into my head, and it usually is at 3 a.m. So unfortunately that can swirl around a lot for all of us. But when I wake up in the morning, I reintroduce almost a discussion with that fear and just say, you know what? Thanks for the warning, but I got this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You're allowed to be here, but I'm driving and I have faith in what I'm doing. So that's just one simple thing to say. But the biggest thing that I believe in, and I really do, is that, like with my business. Okay. So I had never been a coach. I had never run a workshop. I had never done. One of the things I'm loving right now that I'm doing is I interview people and I create a stage for a storytelling of third act stories. I had never done any of that before. So I was definitely having imposter syndrome for a while, going like, who the heck am I to say that I can help any? So that was real, but I continued to say, no, I don't have this and that bona fide experience. However, I have a life that's at that point was almost 60 years of life course that
Exactly. Yeah. I like that life course. Yes.
Yeah. And I also have faith in my intention. So I think fear is going to be in everybody's heads, but as long as we put it in the right seat in the car, it's the back seat. It's not, it doesn't get to tell me.
Yeah. It can drive us forward too, I think, right? I mean, it can motivate us to kind of, I mean, and those voices in our head, the saboteurs or the gremlins, as we call them in my training, is they're there to keep us safe in the zone of safety. Whereas, like you said, if you just say, okay, I understand you're trying to keep me safe, but I'm going to follow my heart and I've got this. So, yeah.
Well, it's a delicate balance, isn't it, Kavita?
Yeah.
The things I think about myself when my fear does sort of take over as I'm encountering either a failure in my business or a challenge that I wonder why I've put myself up to. That's when that fear comes right in. And I sometimes wonder whether I mentioned that my energy flows when either I have fear or I've gone through something tough. I often wonder if we're all a little different and that sometimes I take risks, but I'm wondering if sometimes I'm a little bit of a adrenaline junkie around these challenges. It's not to say that's a solution and a tool, but it's just an authentic sharing from me that you do have to sometimes listen to fears because sometimes you are going too far. You know, for me, financially, I have to work, but luckily I love to work. And I think this is a little bit of a segue into what third acts are all about, is that the traditional view of retirement or the capacity and choice around retirement is not present for everyone. For me, I am at a place where I must continue to work, and that doesn't bother me because it is my choice. I found what I love. And as I say, I will do it until the day I can't any longer. So that's a blessing. But at the same time, money fears are real.
Yes.
And so those are the ones that I think a lot of people at this age are circling in their heads. But I often just say to myself that quote that we talked about that's on my website, which is the quote from Mary Oliver: "Tell me what it is you plan for your most wild and precious life."
I love
It's
that.
moment where you just say, I have to live this.
I have to do this. Yeah. I love that quote. And I was going to ask you about that and why it's so special for you. But for me, I think what that means is to live every moment to the fullest. And I always say, if not now, when, right? When are we going to do this? So.
Well, if you think about it, and this is the other thing I do when I have fear, I say, if it all goes away, I will be able to survive. If I can't achieve what I think I can survive, but it's worth it to me to try.
To try.
One of my biggest fantasies that hasn't begun yet is I want to make a film. I've been a photographer. I've been thinking of this film since I was 17. I want to do it. I can't leave this planet without trying that. But it scares the whatever out of me because, like,
as you will.
Am I gonna,
yeah. Well, you're writing a book and you want to do a film. So
they're linked. They're linked. They inform each other, right? So to me, I think if we have a dream that's inside of us, some of us don't know what they are yet, and some of us have to explore them. But if there is something inside of us, we owe it to ourselves, even if it's a side thing, we owe it to ourselves to start the exploration. And how many times do things that you fit in around the side? I was listening to, oh my God, I love Elizabeth Gilbert's book, Big Magic. She was talking about all the gifted and most successful writers had a side gig. Ann Patchett worked at TGI Fridays. They all got up 2 hours early before their real job to do their passion project. So if you aren't able to make a holistic shift into something new, you can certainly do something.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to coax myself that way too.
Yeah, I think like you said, I think if we have something in us, we're obligated almost to bring it out into the world, because like there's so many talents that we have that maybe we haven't explored, or we just have put it to the side because we've always been looking after everybody else. And I believe it's our time to really explore those amazing qualities or amazing passions that we have buried, and how to bring those out. And I feel it's almost like I'm obligated to do it, because we all have unique gifts, and we need to bring them out. So
isn't that, I love that. I love what you said. I also totally resonate with this whole concept of this is our time.
Yes.
So you can look at it as, hey, time's running out, or you can look at it as we have all the knowledge, the awareness, and the equipment to unearth those passions. But I've been thinking about it a lot too. I mean, I think we both feel very clear about what ours are. Some people don't. And I think there's so much talk about passion and purpose. And obviously that's at the cornerstone of your work. What I also love is this time is, if you don't know exactly what it is, it's still your time to explore it. And love the process and have fun on the process, and recognize that you sort of will know it when you find it. Heartbeat faster.
That's why I put play. That's why I put play in my name, because you have to play. You have to have fun while you're doing it, right? Diana, I wanted to ask you, like, we talk about third act and we talk about this gift of time, and we've talked about it. So what is the definition, and what is so unique about this stage of life? And I know that you speak about that old age for our great grandparents is now middle age for us. So talk to me a little bit about this time and this unique stage of life and what it means, especially for women.
Hi, my friend. Kavita here. Do you often feel blocked from moving forward? We all feel that way at times. These are referred to as energy blocks. I've created a short, actionable PDF guide to help you release your negative energy blocks. Click the link in the description to download it now for free. Now, let's get back to the episode.
Well, thank you. So first of all, I want to address the part about the third act, because I can't tell you how many people I talk to like, well, no, I'm actually still in my second, or, oh, I'm already in my fourth. And so it's all debatable. And so I just wanted to sort of say right out there that it's not the ultimate way of expression. It's my way, just because born out of the fact that narrative fiction uses a 3-part structure, right? And I loved it. The first is the setup, the middle is the confrontation, or we all know what that can translate to, our midlife challenges. And the third is resolution. So it doesn't need to mean end. It means figuring it out. We all are in a process of figuring it out. So that relates then back to your question around time. And beyond the fact that our life expectancy is longer, I've even heard recently from some studies that our children may live regularly and well into their 100s. So all of that
Which is wonderful.
A lot. It's challenging the structure of work. It's challenging all structures of life, of course, finances and things like that. But for me, beyond that life expectancy stuff is this whole idea that time is ours. You mentioned living in the moment. I love the idea of the fact that I own this time. This is I literally own it. It doesn't own me. I think in my midlife and a lot of our midlives, we wore this badge of honor thinking that, oh, I don't have time for that. I'm just so busy. And right now it's like, if you think of it less of being a victim of all this busyness and more about owning the time, it actually sometimes feels like it expands. So that's a little just my take on time. But yeah, so I think that this is, unlike our great grandparents who may have not had this life expectancy, they also didn't have, I believe, this opportunity of awareness, being able to understand really what's at the core of their meaning for their lives. And that is a huge gift.
Yes. Well, I think as well, if I think about my mother and my grandmother, I don't think that they were even aware of what they had to offer and what they can offer the world, because they were always, I've come from a traditional Indian background. So there's certain roles that they play. There are certain boxes that they had to fit in. Whereas I think, I don't know, tell me if I'm wrong based on your experience, that in the last, I don't know how many years, that's slowly being broken. And
well, as women, more recently, we've had some sort of challenges to our freedom, but our freedom of choice, let's say. But I have to say, as a woman now, I look back on what has inspired my life, and my inspiration comes in two different ways from my personal my grandmothers and my mother. Partly, my grandmother was one of these women who, she lived a fairly simple life, but if she was curious about something, she did it. If she wanted, she was very curious about China. And this is in the 70s when it opened up. She went. She didn't have a lot of money, but she went. And she came home and she told me she was going to write a book about it. And that was her way of doing it. But it was basically her journal that her son typed up for her. But everything was about curiosity and possibility. And my dear mother, who grew up in a different time, did not embrace those possibilities for herself so much. She was an amazing mother and wife, but she never pursued her own soul. So I think those two very different ways
That's
of
interesting.
living.
That actually reminds me of, I want to write a book too.
Good.
Yeah.
Hey, we should be accountability partners, because
yes. What got me thinking about that is that our generations before us, like for me, like my parents moved from Kenya, whereas I was born in Kenya. They moved continents. They moved to Canada in the 60s, and with no internet, nothing, obviously, right? And just the bravery and for them to have done that. So in a way, they did follow the opportunities, right? But as a family, as a unit, versus my mother maybe saying, I want to do this for myself. But it's interesting that they were really, really brave to do that.
They were
to do it back then. Yeah.
Very brave.
Yeah.
Very brave. I think we need to, isn't that cool? I think it is always fun in our introspection to take a look at the people, and especially the women in our own personal histories.
Yes, exactly.
And learn from them, either from their sadnesses when they didn't follow their own hearts or do anything except for others, which I put in my mother's
me too.
description. It was all about us not
All of
about
us.
her.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
And
So yeah, I want to write a book about the moves they made. That's the,
you do.
yeah, just a how they moved from continent, from India to Africa to Canada. So interesting. I think it is.
Have you, you've had the opportunity to learn and hear a lot of their stories?
Yes. Yes. It's
Okay.
fascinating. Anyway, but that's aside.
Now that's
So
exciting.
yeah.
But what a beautiful, our family thread is so important.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah, we
wonderful.
can learn a lot from it. Yeah. So one of the things that we talk about a lot here, or what has come up, is the concept of ageism, right?
Yes, yes.
And there's these cultural opinions on retirement and aging, and from your clients and from your experience, so what do you think about that, and what kind of biases still exist? And it's probably one of the last isms that hasn't really been addressed too much in society. So thoughts on that?
Well, it's real. It's
Mm-hmm.
powerful. I see it in its effect in almost every woman I work with, whether they are pushed out of a role they had in the workplace or trying to re-enter the workplace at certain times in their
Yeah.
lives, have been met with quizzical looks and like, are you kidding me? And a disregard for what is even remarkable experience. So it is real.
Yes.
Gendered ageism is real. Gendered ageism, yeah, it's tough for a male, but it is especially layered tough for women. It's real and it's daunting and it's upsetting, but at the same time, I am seeing the work that you're doing, I'm doing, and almost every day I discover a new soul in this world who's actively trying to change that. I think that there are amazing activists out there that are focused just on ageism. There are inspiring people that are trying to change the way people of all ages think about it. So it's like a culture shift.
Yeah.
Intergenerational programs that are established. I'm seeing more and more companies start to add it to the DEI list in their initiatives. But most of all, though, what I think about a lot is the other personal side of it is we all have it embedded in us. It's a personal thing. That's where I work to try to get people to understand that they may encounter it around them, but they have to hold on to their own confidence and abilities to move through it and not let it make them feel less. And there's actually a great book that I would highly recommend to you and any of the listeners that just came out by a gerontologist down in Virginia. Her name is Tracy Gendron, and she is actually one of the storytellers that's going to join you and me at the event I'm having at the end of October. But she just launched a book called Ageism Unmasked. And it speaks a lot to what I was just alluding to, which is the fact that she actually did a history of ageism and how it's evolved and why it's ultimately embedded in us emotionally. How many of us have said, oh my God, senior moment, or how many of us have sort of instantly doubted our abilities as something based on this embedded ageism that we need to conquer in our own selves too.
Wow.
So
that sounds like a really great book. I'll definitely take a look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess what I'm saying in the summary is that it's real, it's alive, but people are working on it. So I'm optimistic. I'm also optimistic when I see the younger people that are paying attention to it too. Actually, they're bridges that are being built to understand each other. So you're not going to see, hopefully, as many movies that make older people look silly, stupid, or wobbly. So I think things will shift.
Yeah, that's all great points. It's real, alive, and people are working on it. Yes, I mean, I think it's so interesting. I just did a posted on LinkedIn. I just celebrated my 56th birthday last week.
Congratulations!
And the post. I was like, oh, should I post this or not? But I posted it, and it was just a picture of me with a cake, and I just announced my date, my age. And I said, why are we so afraid of announcing our age? And oh my God, the comments are like, so proud of you for doing that. And everyone's telling their age. And it's like, I'm proud of my years and my wisdom and my experience. And so I was like, that is so heartwarming for me to actually see such a great response to that.
It takes a lot, doesn't it, to transition there? But I'm with you. I'm like, I was an older mom, and she used to say to me, "Why do you have all those wrinkles on your face? None of the other ladies do." And teaching moment, I said, every single one of these are smiles, these are stress, but every single one of these is a map of my life, and this is me.
Beautiful. Yeah.
But still, the culture and ads would have us believe that we can look younger. So I'm totally at a place too where I am very proud. I'm going to turn 62 in how many, like just over a month.
Nice.
And I guess we shift from being nervous that we're getting older, we're hitting the big 40 or 50 to the point where like we are still here.
Yes. And not to say that there's that, not to say that there's not that fear of like, oh my goodness, right? There is that. But I think if we flip it around, and as you said earlier, as I think of it as this amazing opportunity rather than fearing it. So fantastic.
That's a much better choice than being upset about it, right?
Yes. So wonderful. So many, we could talk for hours, I'm sure.
I love talking with you.
Yeah. So tell me, Diana, what are you mentioned some of the things that you're doing now and to forward this movement. And you mentioned the 333 Collective, and anything you want to share as to what you're up to now.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm very excited. Over the last few years, I've learned so much from the women that have converged in gatherings I've had, workshops and things like that. And I've learned so much about the power of connection, not just the power of it, but the craving that we have at this point in our lives. So many of us get to this point in our lives and we realize that sometimes our friend that we've been aligned with are not necessarily still aligned with us anymore. We recognize that we might want to live differently, make big changes in our relationships, where we live, how we work. So all of that aside, I think there's a huge need, especially for women over 50, to connect with like-minded souls, and not necessarily in the way that traditional social media allows us to, because I find that it is more bragging rights and self-promotion or buy my thing. So basically the 333 Collective is, and the number 333 is formed just out of magic, the magic of the number, but it's also a collective because it's a place where third act women can come and connect with each other, share their passions. And by that, I mean, I have a whole alignment of right now, I think we have 12 different special interest groups hosted by other women. So they can share their inspiration, their expertise, so they can inspire and be inspired and learn from each other, try new things.
Nice.
So it's a lot of fun. So that is my newest excitement. That was launched in February, and
Congratulations. That sounds amazing. Well, I know I'm part of it, so I know it is amazing. So, yeah.
Well, and you're also a part of the other aspect that these are the two core things that are relatively top of mind for me with my work. And the other is the storytelling event I alluded to. And it's at the end of October, and it is, by now there are 21 really inspiring third act storytellers. So we'll have not only them sharing their personal journeys, in some cases, their aha moments when they decided they needed to make a change, or a little bit about the path they're exploring now to shape a really meaningful way of living for this third act. So it's going to be offered. It's offered on one hand for free. And then I have a VIP room, let's call it Zoom, where people can actually interact with the storytellers and each other. We'll have breakouts and things like that. So this is our third annual. And to me, it's magic. It is magic to hear other people's stories. It's really for people that are beginning their third act quest. It's a great place to begin to hear other people's stories and start to ask your own questions and do your own exploration. So
that sounds fantastic.
Thanks for allowing me to talk about them.
Oh yeah, no, we'll definitely have we'll have the link for it in our show notes. And
thank you.
But I'm obviously all about storytelling. That's why I'm doing this podcast, because I love hearing other people's stories about how they overcame obstacles in their life, how they got to be where they are. And it inspires me. I learn a lot. I've learned from every single one of these conversations. And I hope that by sharing other people's stories, as you are with this, your storytelling event, that people will learn and take even a little nugget and apply it into their lives to make it a more positive next stage.
But just think about this, the profusion of storytelling that's happening right now. It's like we're coming back to the most basic way we as humans can connect with each other.
Yes.
You can take two very different people leading very different lives, and they will be riveted to hear the other story. And even their difference, as you say, they get to pull that one little nugget.
Yes.
They can't relate to everything, but oh my gosh, I've never thought that way. So stories are, exactly. I've read someplace that words make us think, stories make us link, which I thought was a really neat.
Wow. Nice. I like that. I really like that. Well, so for sure, that sounds amazing, and good luck to you on that. And I'm excited to be part of it as well. So we'll definitely
Well, I'm thrilled that you'll be sharing your personal story. So thank you for that.
Yes, you're welcome. So I guess as we end off our conversation, Diana, maybe you want to share just some last thoughts or for our listeners as to anything that's on your mind in terms of what is this real, what's ahead of them, and what's this third act, and what can they do to make life better?
That's a wonderful question.
Yeah.
I think what's on my mind and what I think should be on all of our minds is to stay curious, stay open, and let curiosity sort of push aside fear. Because after all, if there's something you really want to try or something you really want to experience in your life, this one wild and precious life, you owe it to yourself to try it. And I think the more energy you get behind that helps push fear aside. And so that's what I just say, stay curious.
Stay curious.
And go for the exploration and just go for it.
Well, you're a perfect role model for that. So thank you for sharing that. It was a pleasure to have you on, Diana, and good luck with everything. And
thank you, Kavita. I look forward
stay in touch.
To seeing you on October.
Yes. All right. Take care.
Have a great day.
I hope this episode with Diana Dunbar Place provided you with some key insights and inspiration to create the next most exciting chapter in your life, or your third act. Here are her key takeaways. Number 1, the beauty of any transition is that there is unbelievable opportunity for growth, where you have the opportunity to follow your heart and not just your mind. Number 2, by the time you've been here for 50 years plus, you've had so many experiences, including resilience, which is a gift. 3, you are on the right path if you can stay curious, and that helps you push aside fear. But moreover, there are all these synchronicities as you follow your heart. It all seems to be served up to you on a path. If we're open to possibilities, it can happen to any of us. 4, I'm the driver on this bus. I get to decide which direction we go, and we have a finely tuned GPS inside, and we've got to listen to it and know when we're off course. 5, fear is powerful, and it's an essential part of being alive. It's a survival tool, but we have to know where to put our fear. We have to know when to listen to it, and when it's simply just holding us back. 6, if we have a dream that's inside of us, we owe it to ourselves to start the exploration. 7, this time is ours. I love the fact that I own this time. I literally own it. It doesn't own me. If you think of it as owning the time, it feels like it expands. 8, ageism is real, it's powerful, and it's tough for women. Every single wrinkle is a map of my life, and this is me. 9, words make us think. stories make us link. Thank you for listening and supporting this podcast. If you enjoy its messages and my mission to empower women like you, please do comment and share. It helps to expand my mission even more. Remember, you are an inspiration. Find yours and let it shine. In love and light, till next week, stay safe and stay well.